Secretary Foxx, your testimony greatly focuses on ensuring rail safety as the transport of crude oil by railroads continues to grow. Although crude oil still represents a relatively small segment of rail traffic, BNSF tells me that the oil-related traffic has increased by 229% since 2006. In addition to safety concerns, the increase in oil shipments has other consequences for our rail transportation network. Severe bottlenecks in rail service in the Dakotas and Upper Great Plains have left much of last year's harvest still sitting in piles. Ethanol plants in South Dakota have been forced to slow production because they can't move their product and co-ops can't get fertilizer shipments that farmers will need for spring planting. Just this situation is having a significant effect and potentially lasting impact in rural America. The Surface Transportation Board will be examining rail service in a public hearing tomorrow, and I'm pleased that a number of South Dakotans are planning on participating in that forum. I'm also interested to hear your perspective on the service disruptions. Beyond the STB proceedings, what can the Department of Transportation do to encourage more efficient and reliable rail service?
Senator, thank you for the question, and I want you to know that our leadership has regularly met with railroad executives to express our concerns about service disruptions because we too share your concerns about the impact on other commodities and industries. The Surface Transportation Board is the primary authority on these issues, and I understand that the STB is holding a hearing tomorrow to discuss current rail service issues in the Midwest. Our FRA Administrator, Joe Szabo, will be testifying on behalf of the department, and we will highlight our safety concerns with respect to service disruptions and delays, as well as Amtrak's worsening on-time performance, which is also an effect that we've seen. To back up for a second, however, where you started is essentially the point, which is that we're seeing an exponential increase in the movement of crude oil by rail, 25% since January 2012, and 37 times the amount of crude oil by rail that we saw since 2005. With that kind of capacity coming onto the system, it is going to have other impacts. And if I had one additional point to make to you, it would be that we not only need a larger surface transportation bill from the standpoint of expanding capacity over our surface transportation system writ large, but we particularly need it now as we are having a growth in the movement of energy through all modes of transportation. And in order to ensure that it is safe, we need to make significantly more investments in our infrastructure to get there.
One of the challenging aspects of the service problems we are seeing in the Midwest is the seasonal nature of egg shipping, which causes a spike in transportation needs in the fall after harvest and again in the spring. In times of severely constrained capacity, what can be done to ensure that agricultural goods do not take a back seat to shipping other commodities like crude oil?
This is a question that we're going to continue to need to engage with you and others in Congress on, as well as with the stakeholders in the private sector, including the agricultural community and others. But it is a subject on which we take it as a vital of a vital importance to rail, and we will continue to engage with you and others on that topic, sir.
Ms. Hersman, do you have any comment?
No, sir, that is outside of the NTSB's jurisdiction with respect to the service provisions.
Secretary Foxx, some of the other factors contributing to the service problems include the overall increase in rail shipping due to an improving economy, prolonged periods of extreme cold this winter, and their large harvest last fall. While I'm hopeful that the rail service issues in our region will improve in the coming weeks, many of these same factors could very well be present again next fall and winter. Although the railroads are planning some substantial capital improvements, it seems to me that we also need to be looking at our overall transportation infrastructure and whether it is adequate to support the robust economic activity we'd all like to see. Can you elaborate on the state of our transportation infrastructure and its ability to accommodate increased freight transport safely and efficiently? What steps should we take to bring our infrastructure up to par?
Senator, we're expecting to have to transport 14 billion tons more freight between now and 2050. It's just going to grow exponentially, which is going to put enormous pressure on our current capacity. And if we don't make dramatic improvements in the maintenance and the expansion of capacity in this country, we're going to have more problems like the ones that you were just talking about. I believe that there is also a very important safety aspect to this as well, which is we can have a new tank car standard, we can slow down speeds, we can take lots of different steps, but if there's a piece of broken track that catches the wrong tank car, that would be a calamity that is totally avoidable by making the kind of investments in our infrastructure that we need. So from my vantage point, Senator, we have an awful lot of work ahead of us as a country, but it starts with making investments and ensuring that we have the safety regime and the number of inspectors that are needed to be able to ensure that we're able to move our commodities fast, but also safely.